Irie Ites move on and spread the joy all over.
Yes, man, Irie Ites sound.
This person is real recognition, IrieItes.
Top on the done now, yeah man.
Naturality. Go one split for the keep the evil away. Go one split for the keep the evil.
O Jah, how excellent is thy name in all the earth. O manifold are thy works set aright in all the earth. Out of the mouths of babes and sucklings art thou ordained strength to still the enemies and the avenger. Jah, Rastafari.
Greetings, people around the world, to a new show of IrieItes Radio. Reggae and up, 2 hours long here in FRK and online on www.IrieItes.de. This one is the mighty Dadawa on the peace and love. And tonight we're gonna have a very special show. Our guest tonight is Selector Culture. Culture, greetings.
Yes, greetings massive. This is Culture speaking. IrieItes radio show. Give thanks for having me here once again.
Yes, and your host is Chopper from IrieItes. And Culture, please tell us what we're gonna have in the show tonight.
Yes, today I would like to give you some information and some reasoning about an issue I'm very concerned of in these days, and this is the Pinnacle, Occupy Pinnacle movement in Jamaica right now. This morning I was just talking to a good brother called Uwe Banton about the issue. He's very engaged in it too, and yeah. Afterwards I will give you some fresh material straight out of Kingston. The Sons of Dub coming up with a new EP, Addis Pablo. So yeah. Banton, welcome once again to our IrieItes radio show on this special day, Bob Marley's birthday. It's always a pleasure to have you here with us. Give thanks.
Greetings, yeah, give thanks.
So,
good to be here.
Yeah, Uwe, as you told me some years ago, Bob Marley, as many others, or for many others, had a major influence on your life and works as a musician too. We got to know each other about 9 years ago on a Marley tribute concert down in Würzburg with Leo Stain Band and Breda Ganjaman. This must be a great feeling to sing the songs of this great legend whose granddaughter, Donisha Prendergast, is currently one of the driving forces in a movement we are talking about today, the Pinnacle. And the Pinnacle, a big area on the hilltop of the Paris St. Catherine, is seen as the first Rasta community found by one of the most influential figures of the Rastafari movement, Mr. Leonard Percival Howell. So Uwe, when did you first hear about the original gong, this Leonard Howell and his important works?
Yeah, well, it was originally when I first started to know about Rastafari, through the music, through listening to Bob Marley. And you have to know that in those days, it was actually the last year that Bob Marley was touring here in Germany in 1980. Mm-hmm. And because of his enormous popularity, a lot of media, TV, we could see interviews with him on TV and also radio programs that were featuring him, interviewing him, mm-hmm. And there were also, I remember a series of radio program on WDR, which is a public radio station here in Germany. Mm-hmm. It used to come on every week, and a whole series called Rhythm Reggae Roots. Mm-hmm. And they gave a lot of information and background. I think it was hosted by two authors who had also published a book in those days, and they had been to Jamaica and done a lot of research and used to listen to that program and, record it on tape, and then always listen it over and over again. I remember they were given some info about Leonard Howell and the history of, the early days of the Rasta movement and the Pinnacle settlement.
Oh, even back in those days.
Yes. And they were given the entire history of how Howell set it up and how he published the book, The Promised Key, and what took place in Pinnacle, that it was a very, very flourishing community, and then the government raided it several times until finally in 1954 they totally, flattened it, came there with bulldozers and arrested the Rastaman them and people and even children, women and children, and from there on, I remember, it was said from there on, the Rastas them start to spread all around on the island.
Yeah, most of them were going into the ghettos of West Kingston, right? As Helene Lee, who had currently some years ago published a book about Howell and the whole Pinnacle story, and different vibe then.
Right. So this was the first time I actually heard about Howell, And then when I went to Jamaica in 1981 myself as a young boy, in those days 15 years old.
Which is actually the year when Howell died, right?
Yes, but I never really knew of it, because it was mostly, everything was more about Bob Marley's passing in the same year. So, and I was already a huge Bob Marley fan, so I only just recently learned about, Howell passing in the same year. Yeah.
All right. So how was this vibe like then back in the 80s?
Well, it was very interesting, very interesting. It was the first time for me, I remember going among some Rassis and, sitting together, and the atmosphere was very warm and very loving, and it was a great experience, which had a very great impact, in fact, a major impact actually on my entire life.
As we know, yeah. So now coming back to the topic, the Pinnacle, as you're pretty much up to date about this topic, can you please tell us how you see the situation right now at the moment?
Well, what I see is a situation that is, in my opinion, like rooted and caused by the lack of acknowledgement from what I would call the official side of Jamaica, the government, society, and also probably media, politics, what I frequently experience when going to Jamaica is that it always seems like Rasta is so present, it's like, you go, everywhere you go, you see signs and symbols on people, of Rasta, displaying Rasta, representing Rasta, but it somehow always seemed like the official side of Jamaica is somehow trying to belittle that or trying to hide it, is not really proud of it, which I always found very, astonishing, because in my eyes, and I would say that in the eyes of most people outside of Jamaica, Rasta is the by far most dominant expression of culture, especially through the music. And, of course, nowadays, of course, a lot of people know about Jamaica also through sports, athletics, and lots of other stuff, but by far the most important role, I think, is found within the music. And this music has been, originated in a great deal, great parts by the Rasta movement, especially the entire idea behind it, so this is why I find it, astonishing that in this year, 2014, things like these can happen, that this land, of Pinnacle. It's just seems to be like it's been sold out to some investors, who seem to have no respect for the culture and the history. And this, I think, is something that needs to be done about this. So the entire everything that is happening there about the Occupy Pinnacle movement is a very important thing to bring the attention, especially also of the worldwide community of not just reggae lovers, not just rasta, but all kind of people who believe in human rights and who believe in preserving cultural heritage. What is happening there right now, the activism of Donisha and all the others who are involved, all the organizations, is very important in order to bring attention to this.
Scene, yeah. And of course it's maybe not the first time, but in this time I realize that it's the first time that Rasta houses and Rastas coming from different experiences come together, forming a movement as indigenous people trying to preserve this cultural heritage, right?
Yeah, well, I think it is important because it's something that all Rastas have in common. I think knowing that this is where the root of the entire movement is. So everything that came after has its roots in Pinnacle, so that is why it's important that, Rasta finds a way of, raising their voice, in one accord in order to defend this.
Right. Yes, IrieItes radio show with a little special about the Pinnacle topic. This was a little interview with Uwe Banton, who is known to most of us here in Germany and around the world as a roots singer, rootsman from long time. And so now we're gonna listen to one of his latest tracks, the title track of his album Mental War, combination with Luciano. Uwe Banton, Mental War.
This is Irie in operation. Your messenger alongside the culture one, Uwe Banton.
You and IrieItes, that's a unity. IrieItes, that's a unity. That's what we need in this time. That's what we need. You and IrieItes, unity. That's a unity. IrieItes, that's a unity. You and IrieItes. Not a unity, to divide and rule is the wicked man's choice.
It's the wicked man's choice.
They put us to quarrel so they can rejoice,
and that's not nice.
Rasta see them coming with them evil device.
I see them running and running.
So we get to know they're fighting to keep down the poor man's voice.
They can never keep us down.
This a mental war.
This a war.
This a no physical war.
Oh,
this is a spiritual war.
The spiritual war.
This a mental war.
This a mental war.
This a no physical war.
This a no physical war.
This is a spiritual war.
A spiritual warfare. And I'm prepared. They want edit I talk and censor I speech. Oh God now. But I chew them don't know Rasta come here to teach. Yeah. They're making reality seem so far out of reach. But I promise the earth to the humble and the meek.
It's a mental war.
Mental war.
It's a no physical war. This is a spiritual war.
A spiritual warfare. Yeah.
It's a mental war.
Mental war.
It's a no physical war.
It's a no physical war.
This is a spiritual war.
A spiritual warfare. When will they let the voice of Jah be heard?
And righteousness again cover the earth.
differences aside.
It's time to realize.
Time to realize.
No need to fight.
No need, baby.
It's a mental war. It's not a physical war.
It's not a physical war.
This is a spiritual war.
This is a spiritual warfare.
War. It's a mental war. It's not a physical war.
It's not a physical war.
This is a spiritual war.
Just a spiritual warfare.
When I feel
so that a unity, unity.
I and I feel
And that unity,
you and I feel that a unity. I and I feel you and
calling to all the people across the face of the earth to realize it's one family, the human nation. It's time for us to put aside our differences and let the love of Jah come and take full action in our lives, in our families, in our nations, across the globe.
when I see why.
Sure.
When I see why.
Yes, IrieItes radio show. Unity is what we need in this time. This was a combination. Uwe Banton and Luciano, the German-Jamaican connection. We're still back at the Pinnacle special IrieItes radio show and listening to the second part of the reasoning with Mr. Uwe Banton this morning. Culture here, and yeah, let's listen to the interview again.
It's something that all Rastas have in common, you know. I think knowing that this is where the root of the entire movement is, you know. So everything that came after has its root in Pinnacle, you know. So that is why it's important that, you know, Rasta finds a way of, you know, raising their voice, you know, in one accord in order to defend this.
Right. And you wrote letters to official newspapers like the Jamaican Gleaner or the Observer. Tell us, how was this? How was the response like? As you know,
there was no response actually. You know, I decided I'm going to write letters to the editor of Jamaica Observer and the Gleaner also, just to give my view. You know, as an outsider, non-Jamaican, but just expressing my concern about what is happening there. And I wrote a long letter, but it was never published. I never saw it being published. However, what was published recently was a comment of mine, you know, that I wrote in response of an article that was saying that, I don't remember exactly who, but there was a statement of saying, like, you know, declaring Bob Marley a national hero of Jamaica would have prevented this situation in Pinnacle. And so I wrote a comment responding and saying, so, well, if only Rastafari as a whole movement, you know, had been recognized and given the proper and deserved respect as the main contributors, you know, towards the positive image of Jamaica and Rasta on a worldwide scale, then these things definitely would have been prevented. And that comment of mine was published.
See, yeah, comment on this, right? To see this as a important fact, the most important one.
I think it's very important, you know, to raise our voices, you know, when it is needed. We can't just sit by and just watch all these things happening. And, you know, as everyone knows, I was not born in Jamaica, but Jamaica and Rasta plays a very great role in my life. And so it plays a very great role, I think, for everyone worldwide, you know, who love reggae music, who love Rasta, who love Jamaica. And to see these things happening to a place and a people where the root of this entire movement and the music and the culture that we all love so dearly is taking place, we need to raise our voices. And knowing that throughout the history, the government in Jamaica from colonial days hasn't proven not to have much respect for the Rastas, which is, when you analyze it, coming from the days of colonialism, you have to just see where everything started. But today, in 2014, it's not just Jamaica alone. It's, as everyone knows, it's a worldwide movement, so we can't just sit by and see all these things taking place in Jamaica, and we just sit by and fold our hands and pretend as if it doesn't concern us. It does concern us on a very big scale,
True. So what would you advise to our listeners or to people who would like to inform themselves and support this Occupy Pinnacle movement right now?
Well, first of all, inform yourself. If you have never heard about Leonard Howell, try to do your research. If you have never heard about Pinnacle, do your research, learn about the history, learn about how the entire movement began. It was actually the first self-sustaining community within the entire Caribbean. This is very important. As I do believe that, especially in this modern time, where our daily lives are more and more controlled by global companies, by global players, by corporations that seek to, control the way how we live our lives, how we eat our food, what we eat as our food, and the value of being able to set up a self-sustaining community, plant your own food, and is very vital. And I think it will even become more vital, and people will get to realize this even more. And so people should just learn and inform, educate themselves about the history of Pinnacle and of Leonard Howell and the importance of the entire movement. And then there's a group on Facebook called Occupy Pinnacle, where you can get all the updates from the events, the current events taking place at Pinnacle. And people should voice their opinions, express their opinions, write to media people, write to big newspapers, small newspapers, local newspapers, radio stations, TV stations, if possible. If the contact is there, if the links are there, make the link and let people be aware of what is happening. And then you can also support the movement financially by donating a little funds, on the Leonard Powell Foundation page. You can find all the info on the Occupy Pinnacle page on Facebook, because these people need financial support. There's so far there are no big money people involved. As Bob Marley said, we don't have no friends in a high society. So we need the solidarity, of the worldwide community, just to contribute a little bit. We are great in numbers. I believe there are millions and millions of us throughout the world. So it's very important. Every mickle make a muckle. So if everyone just contribute a little bit, then we can be very strong, and it will be a very great help towards the movement.
Yeah, as many drop of water fill the ocean.
Yes, true.
Right.
Yeah, man.
So, Uwe, would you like to give any message, any words for our brethren and sistren who are pushing forward this Occupy Pinnacle movement and topic in Jamaica right now?
Well, I would just like to say it's good to see what is happening. We are all very, very proud of what is happening in Jamaica, and be wise, when you go amongst the serpents, or listen, be wise when you go amongst those who are not, fighting for what we are fighting for. But we know that, we believe in the victory of good over evil. So be confident and, be diligent and be patient, and strength and endurance. I wish that all of us have it, to endure and finally gain victory in this battle.
Yeah, Uwe Banton says so. Give thanks, Uwe, for this interesting and informative reasoning.
Yes, give thanks for having me, and I can only encourage everyone again, raise your voice, don't be silent in the presence of, evil taking place or, injustice taking place. Don't be silent and fold your hands. Raise your voice and say something, do something, try to see where you can help, and trust in the victory of good over evil,
See. And I'm sure we will stay in contact and see what's happening during these exciting and important times, right?
Definitely.
So, yeah, keep on doing your works.
Yeah, man, every time.
So, by the way, what is your favorite Bob Marley tune?
I have so many. I posted one this morning on my Facebook page, which is Wake Up and Live.
Mm-hmm.
It's I could say it's one of my favorite. I think every one of Bob Marley song are my favorite. I have no favorite Bob Marley song, but of course there are certain ones which on a particular day or within a particular situation, fit well. So this morning, after holding a little meditation, I think this was a very good song to post. Wake Up and Live.
Wake Up and Live. Yeah. All right. Give thanks again.
Yeah, man. Welcome.